Okay, I want to talk about another interesting character named Orion. Orion was a giant huntsman in Greek mythology, whom Zeus placed among the stars in the constellation Orion. Now, what's interesting about Orion is his size that is talked about in Diodorus Siculus's Library of History. And before I read it, I just want to talk a little bit about this guy. Artemis fell in love with him, although she was sworn to be a virgin goddess, but he was killed eventually. And that's why he ended up being placed in the stars. He was killed by. Okay, so there's various stories on the death of Orion. Now, one of them is, this guy was a famous hunter of animals, and he went to Crete and he hunted with the goddess Artemis and her mother Leto. And in the course of the hunt, he threatened to kill every beast on earth, but Mother Earth objected and sent a giant scorpion to kill Orion. And after he was killed by this scorpion, Artemis asked Zeus to place Orion among the constellations, and thus he was added as well as Scorpion to the constellations. Now, another story of the death of Orion tells of him also coming to Crete and Artemis being enamored with him and them hunting together, and Apollo being jealous of Artemis's love for Orion, saw one day that Orion was swimming with his head visible only, and he challenged Artemis to shoot at the mark, and she did, not knowing it was Orion, and killed him with her arrow. So there are two versions, but either way, the man was killed. But here is the most interesting part. This man was said to be a giant. And I'm going to read a little bit out of Diodorus Siculus's story from the Library of History. And I'm going to skip around a little bit, but we'll get to the main part. We shall now recount what the myths relate about Orion. The story runs like this. Orion, far surpassing in size and strength of body all the heroes of whom we have recorded, was a lover of the chase and the builder of mighty works by reason of his great strength and love of glory. In Sicily, for instance, for Zanclus, who was king at the time of the city, which was called at that time after him Zancli, but now Messene, he built certain works, and among them he formed the harbor by throwing up a mole and made the Acti, as it is called. And since we have mentioned Messene, we think it will not be foreign to our purpose to add to what has been set forth thus far, what men have written about the strait. The ancient mythographers, that is, say that Sicily was originally a peninsula and that afterwards it became an island. The cause being somewhat as followed. The isthmus at its narrowest part was subjected to the dash of the waves of the sea on its sides, and so a gap was made, and for this reason the spot was named Region, and the city, which was founded many years later, received the same appellation as the place. Okay, so it continues on and talks about Orion building a little bit here and there, but here is the most interesting part, I think. And let me get to this. And after him I marked Orion huge, driving wild beasts together over the mead of Asphodel, the beast that he himself had slain in lonely hills. And in all hands he held a mace ever unbroken, all of bronze. Likewise, to show forth also his great size, whereas he had spoken before of the Allodae, that at 9 years of age they were 9 cubits in breadth and an equal number of fathoms in height, he adds. These were the tallest men that ever earth, giver of grain, did rear, and goodliest by far, save for Orion, famed abroad. Okay. So he's talking about men being 9 cubits in breadth and equal number of fathoms in height. That's huge. And let's just say 9 cubits in height. And what does that equal in feet? Well, just by going on the internet, I found a converter, and 9 cubits in height would be over, would be 13.5 feet. So they're basically saying that these group of men in that area were 13 and a half feet tall, and Orion was even bigger than that. So here you have these huge people. I don't know if this cubit measurement is correct, but if it is, these men were pretty darn tall. Now, I've heard of this King Og supposed to be pretty tall as well. I think he was also 9 cubits long and 4 cubits wide. And his bed was supposed to be more than 13 feet long and 6 feet wide. So I don't know what this race was. In my previous work, I've talked about gigantism and acromegalia, but people that have pituitary problems that cause them to be this tall have a lot of health issues, and their bones have problems, and their organs aren't matched for the body size because they're not genetically made to be that tall. But these people were something very different because they're very agile and strong, and they seemed to live long if they didn't get killed. But they're talking about over 13 feet tall and not having problems or bent over and bone problems and walking with a cane. This was something very different, and this is the race that the Europeans came from. And, I have to wonder if this cubit measurement has a problem. Like, were these people 7 to 9 feet tall? Or is it true, that the cubit estimate is correct and they were over 13 feet tall? This race of giants ruled. They mated quite a bit and spread out. And as they mated with, the average size human, their genetics was watered down. But I don't know what this race was. I don't know why they were incredibly tall, but they were. And they ruled. So here's the example with Orion, said to be bigger than these men who were 9 cubits in breadth, an equal number of fathoms in height. And I'm wondering if this fathom thing is even bigger. I'm just doing a simple look on the internet, and this is correct. 9 fathoms equals 54 feet. So in height. So something's off about this measurement. But these men were huge, and I just can't believe they were 54 feet in height and 13.5 feet in width. But something's just very off. but obviously they were very tall people. So Orion was said to be one of the biggest giants ever, and he was killed either by a scorpion or by Artemis's arrow. That's it.